All right, Teak, we are joined now by Bruce Bowen from ESPN, NBA analyst. Do some hoops here. Lots going on. What's happening, Bruce? How are you today? Tiki and Tierney, welcome back.
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
All good. You tell us. Let me ask you this. I said this to Tiki before, and I don't know if you maybe have something that I kind of missed along the way. I feel like that this MVP race, compared to other years, it's almost like a night-to-night reevaluation. Westbrook scores 58, but they lose. Westbrook has a triple-double against the Spurs, but they win. Now you got to readjust all that. Kawhi Leonard, the block and the bucket. Oh, wow, Kawhi should win. I feel like this is a great MVP race, maybe the best we've ever seen.
Well, I think so as well. I think, if anything, the biggest highlight is that you have so many different individuals that are having monstrous years. I mean, it's hard to negate what Russell Westbrook has been able to do. A triple-double? He's averaging a triple-double right now. In this day and age, a triple-double, when all you have to do is say, okay, everybody stop him. And he's still able to do, tremendous things out there on the court. Now, you look at what James Harden is doing. He could score. We knew he could score. But his assist, the way that team is scoring 100 points a game, the volume of threes that they're shooting, it's tremendous what James is doing. And, what Kawhi is doing as far as leading this team, taking on the role of being the foundation of the team now, I think that's more impressive than anything else, and being able to come through in clutch moments. As you said, the last, so many seconds against the Houston game, he scores a three, he makes a big block, and, what it boils down to is most valuable player. Now we have to get into the definition of that word. It's not being on a team and them possibly being in the fifth or sixth position in the playoff race. I think most valuable is that person that allows the team to get closest to number one if they can. So that's where the criteria for me falls into, okay, all those great things that's happening, I now look at whose team is doing most with that person. And, everyone's
Bruce, let me challenge you for a second. I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Challenge me then.
I got you.
Let's go.
Here's the thing, and I look at values very differently. Like if you take Russell Westbrook or even Isaiah Thomas, certainly the Thunder, they're a 12, 13-win team. They're awful. Now, Brad Stevens has a little more in Boston. Maybe they get an 8 seed, maybe, because the East isn't as good. I don't know. Personally, I place more value most seasons on somebody that does so much that elevates an otherwise moribund team to a pretty competitive team rather than, a competitive team to an elite team. I think it's harder to do the former than it is the latter.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's kind of where I was leading to with what Russell Westbrook is doing. Obviously, I enjoy what Kawhi is doing as well, because I think he has such a responsibility. But out of all those individuals, it is Russell Westbrook that has to do the most. Talk about losing a caliber player of Kevin Durant, a former league MVP, a former scoring champion in the NBA. So I think what he's done has been more valuable than any of the other participants that are going on. Now, I know there's going to be people that, but he's not doing this, he's not. But you got to look at what he's doing for his ball club with how much he has. He doesn't have a lot of stars on that team.
What about Isaiah Thomas? Because he kind of falls into a similar category. And Charles Barkley talked about this last night, how he has to take all the big shots and everything else. And Boston's winning, different than Oklahoma City, other than last night where they beat the Spurs, which was a great win with his triple-double, obviously. But, prior to that, they were on a 4-game losing streak. But Boston is challenging Cleveland and may snatch the number 1 seed in the East.
Even I look at what he's been able to do, Isaiah Thomas. He's a closer. And the second half of the season, after All-Star break, he hasn't been closing like he did early on because teams are making adjustments towards him. So in the first half, they may not blitz him, which is trap him in the pick and roll, but the second half they do. Teams are more aware of what he's doing right now. But I like that young nucleus in Boston as far as what Brad Stevens has been able to do there. They played the Cleveland Cavaliers last week, and it was playoff atmosphere. It was fantastic basketball. When you think of teams that can possibly match up with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're ranked. They're number one against them to me. As far if there is a team that can upset Cleveland, I would say it would be Boston. But even though you still got to play the game, and the only thing that I have a problem with is the youth. They have a lot of inexperienced guys there. They don't have a lot of playoff experience on that team. They need a veteran who's been there and can kind of calm those guys down when things kind of get murky.
Good stuff. Talking to Bruce Bowen, really, truly an elite defensive player. I mean, he'd lock you up and you couldn't get away from him. He's with us here.
But I couldn't tackle Tiki.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
That's true. But you could stick your foot out and interrupt the shooters. And I know Isaiah Thomas. Hey, you were a little dirty, Bruce. Let's keep it real. You were a little dirty.
That's why I want to put my hands on him.
Bruce, you got a little Grayson Allen. You got a little Grayson Allen in you? What? Hey, Bruce, tell me about some of the worries of the top two teams, the defending Eastern and Western champions from last year. The Cavs obviously have lost, 3 or 4 in a row now. I think 3 in a row they've lost. J.R. Smith comes back, which is a good thing, and I think in time he's going to show his value. But they've lost 3 in a row. They don't feel like they're dominant all the time anymore. The same can be said for Golden State, obviously, without KD. Is there worry with either one of these squads?
I think the worry for the Cavs is that people are tired of seeing them there. And it's every single day, what is my motivation? What is the motivation of getting better? What is the motivation of continuously accepting the challenge of other arenas when there is a time when you go into, say, the last place team in the league and it wouldn't be anybody in the gym. Now it's packed because that team, the fans want to see you guys dethroned. I think that's one of the issues when you talk about those top teams is, where will you find that motivation? So for Cleveland, I think the motivation has been having to go about it without a J.R. Smith. You know, he's been injured, and when he comes back, I think that helps them as far as getting back to that mantra of, all right, hey, this is what we do. We got our full crew back. Now we can do what we know how to do. For Golden State, it's different because so many different dynamics change when you got Kevin Durant. You lost a lot of the defensive intensity with that group with Andrew Bogut and Harrison Barnes. So now you take that away. You have Kevin Durant who's now out, and your minus Bogut and Barnes because they're on other teams. Now where are you going to find that defensive structure of what you've had before? I understand that Draymond Green is a tremendous defender, but now there's a little bit of curiosity of where do we go from here with that Golden State ball club.
All right, Bruce, I'm not just trying to play the role of contrarian, but I disagree with something you said before, and I want to circle back to it. You ready? Okay.
Stopper.
Hey, this is my kind of conversation. I like these. A lot of disagreement. All right, so what you said about the Celtics, I want to challenge you in this regard. I made the case the other day to Tiki. Tell me if this is nuts or if you're going to buy this somewhat. I actually think the Raptors and maybe even the Wizards, now that they have a little bench punch, that was a great pickup that they made at the deadline. But specific to the Raptors, with Kyle Lowry, who usually plays a ton of minutes, 37, 38, I think that him being out for a while will help him to be fresh when the playoffs start. So that's a big advantage there. You mix in Ibaka and Tucker, who have playoff type of transferable skills. What they do well will play very well in the second season is what I'm saying. I actually think the Raptors and maybe even the Wizards are more equipped to beat the Cavaliers than the Celtics, despite what you just said before. What do you think?
If I didn't have to do this promo for next VR, I would have hung up a long time ago. With that thought, with your thoughts right there. Man, come on, man. How are you going? You talk about the Toronto. I love Toronto. I love Usai Ujiri, who has done a tremendous job there as a GM. But that team is too heavily dependent upon DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. Now, when Kyle Lowry comes back, we had the issue of watching him shoot himself in the foot during the course of the playoffs last year. Now he has to get back into playing shape as far as shooting the basketball. The surgery on the right wrist, you got to follow through on that wrist. So it's going to be an adjustment that he has to go through. And it's just unfortunate that he doesn't have more time to necessarily prepare for that as compared to other times. I like Serge Ibaka. I like Tucker. But what happens in the game, the teams are going to pack it in. They're not going to allow you to drive the basketball. So you're going to have to shoot jump shots. And that's what Cleveland did to them last year. And we saw a tremendous difference in that team when they have to rely on jump shots as compared to being able to get to certain spots on the floor. Next.
We don't have time. Hey, listen. But we'll get a beer. Although I think we'll disagree who picks up the bill, but that's okay.
I'll mediate, Bruce, and I'll pick up the bill. Tell us about Next VR.
Man, look here, fellas. I got the wonderful opportunity again of I'm working the game coming up this Sunday, 9:30 Eastern. Lakers host the 76ers, and I'm excited to bring to all the fans around the world this live VR experience. Every week, Next VR delivers NBA League Pass subscribers an incredible, immersive experience through its live NBA game broadcast and virtual reality. I'm not just talking about just right here. It's worldwide, fellas. And when you put on that headset, and if you have the Google Daydream or Samsung and you watch it, you can also download the free app and access this NBA channel experience Sunday's game for free. But when you put it on, all the NBA guys that I've interviewed, all the guys that I know have these devices, they talk about how transcendent the game is because you're seeing the people come right at you. It's as if you're sitting courtside like Tiki does for everything he does. He's courtside everywhere. So you can actually experience something kind of like Tiki as well.
Just don't let me cut your hair.
Nice. Good line. Hey, Bruce, good stuff. Nice chat.
All
good
right,
information, even though you're wrong. But, hey, we'll talk to you down the road, brother, okay?
Always a pleasure, Bruce.